Well, hello and welcome back to Midweek Mashup. Today I'm sitting down with Pastor Eric, continuing our Names of God series with Yahweh Rapha.
Yes.
Are we supposed to use more guttural?
Rapha.
Is that? I don't know.
Sounds like a rapper DMX. Yes. So that's your goal. When you're doing Hebrew, try to sound like the rapper DMX.
Gotcha.
Rapha.
Okay.
4 of our audience will get that and appreciate that reference.
Yahweh Rapha means the Lord as healer.
Yes.
And we talked about a couple of different variations of that word on Sunday. This was a really nuanced message, and we talked about it as a team a little bit before you went up and talked about it on Sunday. Can you walk us through a little bit of the thought process of like why that was challenging?
I didn't grow up in the church, so I have a lot of limited amount of church baggage. So sometimes when I do have church baggage, I'm like, dang, a whole lot of other people have a whole lot more of this. If I experienced a little bit of this, then a lot of other people experienced way more of this. And so, part of it was recalling a scenario in which a man in a wheelchair who preached a message at the church I was attending finished preaching, and the certain people in the church wanted to pray for him to be healed, and he was going to get up and walk that night. And he pushed back and said, "Hey, I've prayed that prayer a lot, and in over my years, God has revealed to me that that's not His plan for me. That whatever purpose He has for me, it's not that." And that caused a big disruption in the church. It caused people to leave the church because he didn't have enough faith, and the pastor didn't have enough faith to enforce this healing prayer on him or whatever. And that was very confusing to me. At the time, I was not a believer. I was very skeptical and didn't like it. Just the whole conversation really left a bad taste in my mouth. And that kind of is just scratching the surface of the way that healing understanding the text and then trying to, take it out of context and apply it in certain situations has done a lot of harm, this concept of healing. And so I felt like it was important for us to go there and to just talk about, like, hey, sometimes God heals miraculously. Sometimes He heals through people, and sometimes healing doesn't come. And I think it's really important for us as Christians to just live in reality. For our own sake, to have a sober-minded faith, but also to, as we are a witness to the work of God in the world, that we don't present false hope or false expectations, or shame people. You're not healed from your sickness because you don't have enough faith. That's really damaging and harsh, and so I at least wanted to acknowledge that. And then, to take it a step further, like the healing that happens in Scripture is always temporary, right? Everybody who ever is healed in the biblical narratives eventually goes on to die, right? But the healing examples that we see in Scripture are a foretaste of resurrection, a foretaste of things to come. That it looks like disease and death and pain and sin is winning, but in the end, that's not the case. Jesus wins. Resurrection defeats life, and there's a permanent healing on the way. And so, this was something you shared with our team last week of just, it doesn't fix things for us to know that, but it does give us hope. It gives us something to hold on to in the meantime, and a future to look forward to. And I think that's really helpful. And at the same time, I encourage us to pray with faith. Not that God has to heal for my faith to be strong, but to believe that He can, and that if it's in His will, His plan for me, then I want to pray for that. So
the takeaway that I got from your message was that praying for healing is good.
Yes.
And if God does heal through that prayer, that's great.
Yes.
How do we then interact with someone if that healing doesn't come? Right? It's like, okay, good, we have hope. There's still a very practical thing going on here that people are wrestling with. How do we address that? If not, like, hey, I'm going to keep praying for healing until you're healed.
It's not a pendulum that has to swing from one side to the other, right? Like, there are ways in which we can be and share the presence of God short of a miraculous healing or a medical healing. All right. There are tangible ways in which we are called to be healers and participate in healing. And sometimes that looks like presence. That doesn't always look like we're going to see a miracle. Sometimes it looks like I'm going to sit with you in the grief, or I'm going to sit with you as you're getting your chemo treatment or your dialysis treatment or whatever it is. I'm going to bring a meal over. I'm going to listen to you cry out and say, this isn't fair. And I'm going to, instead of, telling you to just have faith and keep your head up, I'm going to just sit there with you and be a shoulder to cry on and listen. And I think that's so, like, there's other healing that happens in that, because, like, one of the things that I talked about is when we're praying for healing, we're praying very specifically for this thing that's happening, whether it's a medical thing or a psychological thing or even a relational thing. We're praying for that thing to be healed. And that's one of many things that's broken in our lives, right? And so in a lot of ways, what it looks like to be healers is just to step in and bring healing to the other areas. I can't... I will lay my hands on a person and pray for them to be healed, and if that's God's will and he does that, then awesome. And if he doesn't, that doesn't mean like, well, I guess that's it, my work's done, I got no other, like, no, I'm still, you stick by and become the presence of Jesus for those people in that time in whatever tangible, helpful way that looks. And oftentimes it's in silence. And I think so often people who have good intentions, they want to say something that they think is going to be helpful. And they're like, what words can you say to somebody? Right. Hey, you have a cancer diagnosis and the prognosis is bad. What do you say? There's no words to say that make that okay.
Well, God has a plan, though, right? He has a plan for all things. Just let go and let God.
Right? Like just hearing you say that. I'm not even going through that, but just hearing people say that to people that I love that are going through something tough just makes me want to, like, smash a microphone. Like, right. and it's not to shame anybody for, like, putting our foot in our mouth. We all put our foot in our mouth at one point or another. The desire is good. The desire to say something encouraging and uplifting is good, and yet can we just be honest and say there's no words, man? There's nothing you could say to me in this moment that's going to make this okay. It's not okay. And I don't think God expects us when we get bad news to sit around and go like, this is fine, the meme of the burning building, the guy's sitting there. No, we're not. It's not fine. It's not fine. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Like, I think that's what's really important for us, like, on a big picture scale, is death was not part of God's plan. Life was God's plan, right? The invitation of sin into the world was the invitation of death into the world and sickness into the world and all of this stuff. So when we were like, death, it's just part of life. Well, it wasn't supposed to be. And so, like, we may say that to make ourselves feel better just because it is a reality in the world that we live in, but we don't. God doesn't expect us to say, "Well, I guess it's just part of life, Lord. I guess thank you for this." No, He understands this isn't how it's supposed to be. He understands the pain that we're going through. Jesus took on all of the pain of all the world, and nobody understands more than Him. And so, instead of just trying to put on a happy face and act like everything's okay, it's okay to sit with somebody and say, "Hey, this sucks. I'm sorry. This isn't how it's supposed to be."
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, I don't know how to help, but if there's anything, I'm here for you. It's okay to just sit in silence and let somebody cry or rant or whatever they need to do to process. Sometimes the best thing we can do is to be humble and sit down.
Yeah. That's
a rap lyric for those who get it. I'm really into the rappers today. I'm really into the hip hop today. But truly, to just be. God works through presence, and to just sit next to somebody and pray, Lord, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? And sometimes it's nothing, just be.
Yeah, I know in my own life that some of the best times that I've really felt like someone understands what I'm going through is when they say, I have no idea what you're going through. And it's like, thank you. Like, I am blessed by you not pretending like you know what I'm going through right now.
Yeah. It is helpful to talk to people who've been through things, because they don't get the circumstances, but there's this unspoken, like, way of relating, and they know, because when they were going through what they were going through, they know there was no words or cliche or even Bible verse that was going to make it go, this is fine, right? But they also know enough to know that, like, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm here. And I think that whole idea of not minimizing somebody's pain by, I know exactly what you're going through. No, you don't. And that's okay that you don't. It doesn't make you a bad person for saying that. It's just, it's okay to be like, I have no idea what it's like to go what you're going through. Or it's been a long time since I've felt the kinds of things that you're feeling right now. And so my heart is with you. That's helpful.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. If you want to hear more from Pastor Eric on the Lord as healer, we'll go ahead and add a banner to that message from this last Sunday.
And we're doing a rap album based on all these names of God, apparently. Just kidding, we're not doing that.
Are you going to rap in Hebrew?
Oh my gosh. I could do a good DMX impression and do a Hebrew rap album. It would be terrible. No one would listen to it other than to make fun of me.
I'll link our GoFundMe down below for FCC's rap album. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to engage some more, we will have some more videos coming up for you right here.